Hello again and welcome to another thrilling episode of The Really Show, where we report on the funny, weird, and interesting things we find online. I'm your host, Aaron Ross. Today's episode, Saviors of the Jews. If you like the show, we'd love it if you'd subscribe. Our first story comes to us from HolocaustForgotten.com. Doctors Lazowski and Matulewicz, spreading epidemics, saving lives. During World War II, Polish medical doctors Eugene Lazowski and Stanislaw Matulewicz, with science and cunning, outwitted the Nazis and saved thousands of Jewish lives. It started with one Jewish man sent back to his village on special leave from a Nazi work camp. The man was expected to return to the work camp, but he knew it would be a death sentence if he went back. He asked the doctors if there was anything they could do to keep him from going back. It just so happened that Lazowski knew that Matulewicz had discovered that if a person who did not have epidemic typhus was injected with dead typhus bacteria, they would test positive for it without actually getting sick. Lets you know you're alive! That inspired the idea of injecting the man on leave from work camp with the dead bacteria. They knew it was very risky, but they all agreed it was worth it. They sent a blood sample from the man to the Nazis for testing. The Nazis sent a telegram back to the doctors confirming that the man had tested positive for epidemic typhus and he was absolutely not to return to the work camp. The plan worked. No, we got this. Come on. It worked so well that Lazowski and Matulewicz thought it could do the same for the Jewish population of the surrounding villages. Thus, a fake epidemic was created. The Nazis were terrified of this disease because it had ravaged Germany in years prior. But if it was only the Jewish population that were believed to be infected, well, the Nazis would just kill them all. So, they also infected a number of non-Jewish people with the bacteria as well, so that the Nazis would not kill all those infected. Now, the Nazis, being a little suspicious, sent a medical examination team to the village to authenticate the epidemic. But not much came of that since the Nazis were terrified of getting too close to anyone who might be infected. Pow! These two ingenious doctors saved over 8,000 people from certain death. Our next story comes from TheGuardian.com. Sir Nicholas Winston luckily checked up on the kids. After the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia in 1938, Nicholas Winston, a stockbroker from England, felt compelled to visit there. Winston knew what was going on in Czechoslovakia at the time through various connections that he had. He also knew that refugee groups were working on getting adult Czech Jews out of the country, but nobody was doing anything about the Jewish Czech children. He went to Prague and found a large number of Jewish refugee children whose parents had been taken to concentration camps. Knowing full well that many of these children would probably die if he did not help, he took action. It's okay, everybody, we got this. He devised a rescue mission, transporting the children from the Nazi-occupied country to Britain. He organized 8 evacuations of the children on the Czech Kinder transport train. He arranged foster homes, acquired the necessary travel permits, and persuaded the Germans to let the children leave. He saved 669 children from certain death. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Oh, he has been knighted and received the Order of the White Lion. The order is awarded by the President of the Czech Republic to Czech citizens and foreigners alike for outstanding services to the Czech Republic. And our final story comes to us from JewishVirtualLibrary.org. Pope Pius XII. Maybe not such a bad guy after all. Pope Pius XII had the reputation of being Hitler's pope, but this may actually not have been the case. Whether due to apathy or outright support, Pius was highly criticized for not speaking out more forcefully against Hitler. Pope Pius XII. But according to Albrecht von Kessel, the Holy See's German official during World War II, Pius XII and many in the Catholic Church believed that speaking out against Hitler would do more harm to the Jews than good. Hitler's obvious reaction to protests would be violence, and in this case, against the Jews. So the Vatican remained mostly quiet on the issue. The Catholic clergy of Holland protested loudly and often against the Jewish atrocities. And the result was, more Jews were deported from Holland than anywhere else in the West. So instead of speaking out, the Pope worked secretly to save as many Jewish lives as possible. How was this done? Well, for one, the Vatican issued tens of thousands of false documents that allowed Jews to pass as Christians. Also, Pius spent many millions to help save Jewish lives. He even helped pay a large portion of a ransom for 300 Jews in a Jewish Roman community who would have been captured and taken prisoner by German commanders. After the Nazi invasion of Italy, Pius XII was forced to turn his attention to finding hiding places for the Jews in Italy. He gave orders that religious buildings were to give refuge to Jews even at great personal sacrifice. The Pope had monasteries and convents take in Jews. Thousands of Jews were helped and hidden. Pope Pius personally took responsibility for children whose parents were deported from Italy. And Albert Einstein gave the following quote after the war: "Only the Catholic Church protested against the Hitlerian onslaught on liberty. Up till then, I had not been interested in the Church, but today I feel a great admiration for the Church, which alone has had the courage to struggle for spiritual truth and moral liberty." Really, come on. What's better than that? If you have any thoughts on these stories, please write about it in the comments area. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.